All right, welcome back to Blow Up the Team. I'm Matt, and today we're talking about the Houston Astros preseason and the big elephant in the room. Their very, very specific betrayal of the sport and their own integrity, taking what was once considered a great accomplishment and some has always a joy for a lot of people, and stomping on it because they were greedy and stupid. And so, this is going to be a very different video. I'm not focusing on any particular players. The focus is going to be on the scandal. Jeremy has asked me before this, does the scandal really affect how you grade them, and does it really affect the video? And it's absolutely. From fundamentally, it changes the whole thing, because for the last 3 years, not throughout the whole of the 3 years, but for the last 3 years, on and off, and for extended periods of time, especially in 2017, we have hours and hours of just banging sounds before pitches of, oh, they've been doing this for a while, of inflated stats from cheating. Not to say that everyone did great because of it. J.D. Davis still didn't hit 200, hit below 200 when he was up. Carlos Beltran still only hit 230 for the regular season. But other players, found themselves putting up career numbers. Evan Gattis, a guy who, when you hear his story and you hear all the things he went through, anxiety and depression that, led it to a bunch of problems, and him overcoming it and becoming a major league star after, years later when he could have been something like that beforehand. Like, you hear these stories and it was inspiring, and just to find out that in 2017 he hit more home runs and less in half playing time, with splitting duty with Brian McCann, and had a better average than he had at any point in his career, and better slugging, better OPS. And then you find out that, and then he's suddenly gone in 2018, and you can't figure out why no team wanted to pick him up. And then you find out, oh, they were cheating the whole time. This team has a very specific betrayal, and it absolutely. I'm kind of getting off topic here, but yes, the cheating absolutely, because affects how you grade them. Because a team that has been cheating for multiple years, numbers get extrude, and when you make predictions, and when you try to figure out and formulate how a team's going to do, you formulate it on how they performed. And when a bunch of these guys came up in the heart of their cheating scandal and don't have a lot of years, their numbers are going to be projected to be very good. But now they don't have that crutch anymore, and they're going to be under immense scrutiny, with massive amounts of pressure and fans booing them to hell every time they go anywhere besides Minute Maid Park. So it absolutely is going to skew. Now, of course, they could, perform great and show, hey, we didn't need to cheat. Well, more shame on them. And so, anyway, so the numbers are going to be skewed, I think, for a lot of people, because a lot of people like Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Yuli Gurriel never played much time in the MLB. In fact, Yuli Gurriel and Alex Bregman had only been September call-ups the year before, 2017. The year before 2017 is 2016, fun fact. And Carlos Correa had only been called up in 2015. So a lot of these guys who everyone saw was like, oh my God, look at these amazing young players. The Astros came up in the heart of a cheating scandal, and so their numbers have been skewed. But I'll get more into the scandal later. Let's get into the lineup, and let's just talk about it. So, leading off, you have George Springer. He was honestly my favorite player in the Astros, because he never got. I didn't think he ever got enough credit for what he does. He's a guy in a leadoff spot that hits with a lot of power, and always seemed to be really clutch for them. I'm not even gonna make cheap jokes at it, but for a center fielder, his defense is absolutely horrendous. It's really bad, and like, they got rid of the little slope that used to be in, Houston, but it's still really bad. He's just not a good defender. He's got a good arm out there, but he loses track of it, and definitely, I don't know why they play him in center field so much. I feel like anyone they have could do a better job in center field, fielding wise. However, bat wise, great power, solid hitter. Kind of all there is to really say about George Springer. Jose Altuve, he's one of the few guys who's been up for a shitload of years by the time they started cheating. And when you look at his stats are pretty much the same. Obviously, his 2017 stats are out of this world because, you already have a really great player who's proven himself to be a multi-time batting champion with even more with even easier time hitting because, hey, he knows what pitch is coming. Which, you know, that kind of skews things. But anyway, I digress. So regardless of the cheating, he's a great hitter. He'd won batting titles before he cheated, before he had, done all that. He's never struck out too much more than he's walked. He's been pretty good about that. He's got some pop in there for a guy who's, short and doesn't have a whole, wouldn't be projected to have a whole lot of power. And he's just an overall like full, very fast on the base pass, very fast fielding, quick hands. He's a pretty complete package of a player. So definitely a really solid guy to have in number two. Moving on to Michael Brantley, he was an addition like last year, so I'm not going to go too hard on Michael Brantley because I feel like Michael Brantley's always been a very talented hitter, and he turned out it was between him and DJ LeMahieu for a while before for the batting title before Tim Anderson kind of came ahead with it, but anyway, excellent hitter. Not a huge power guy, but definitely lots of good contact. Will hit. I think regardless of that, he'll hit in the upper 200s to 300s because he's just a very naturally gifted hitter and a decent fielder. Nothing crazy, but still very good. Moving on to Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman is he's very good. All parts of the baseball, all parts of the field. He hits for power. He hits pretty high average for what today's MLB is, and he doesn't strike out that much more. And actually, last year he walked 30 more times than he struck out, which yes, we are going to talk about. Let's click on his stats. So this is exactly what I mean by this is why I don't like doing a thing for a team that's been cheating for the last 3 years. Look at those numbers. To 2016, he only played 49 games and hit 264, which is fine for a guy who just got called up. And you didn't have that much playing time. He did good. And then the problem is that his numbers get significantly better. Not so much power in 2017, but his just overall game was really good in 2017. It's really hard to tell. Well, is this just a natural progression? Because some of it can be. And he did strike out 2 times every time he walked. But we know for a fact the Astros didn't stop cheating after 2017. They kept cheating. And then look at his numbers. And that's the other thing I really want to talk about on this team. This team in 2016 and the years before had always been at the bottom of the league with most strikeouts, least walks. And then over the course of the last 3 years, they became the team that walked the most and struck out the least. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Because all of a sudden his numbers go from 55 walks to 97 strikeouts to 96 walks and 85 strikeouts, and then ridiculous in 119 walks to 83 strikeouts. Like, that's insane for a team to. Now, obviously, players can turn that around on their own and show that they're really talented. And I'm not saying Alex Bregman isn't talented, because he is. I think he genuinely is, which makes this whole cheating scandal more fucking ridiculous because they had talented players. There was no reason. They had a talented young core who could do a lot. It's not like they were like all coming up on their contract years and had like a shitload of pressure to do it right then. And who knows? If they didn't cheat, who knows if they would have lost? Dave Roberts is a horrible playoff manager. So do I think his numbers are going to fall off a cliff? No, but I don't expect them to. I don't expect his numbers to be like this anymore. Maybe because maybe they'll be similar. Maybe, but I wouldn't hold my. I'm not going to hold my breath. I don't want to make overarching claims because I just don't know. I don't think if you can. Anyone can fairly say how these guys are going to do now that they're under so much scrutiny. But I mean, once again, he's a young player. He's a talented player. I don't think there's any reason why he can't put up more really good numbers. But I don't expect anyone on this team to do what they've been doing, except for maybe Jose Altuve because of what I mentioned. how he's been doing this for over 10 years now. But yeah, this is kind of like my number one frustration is guys like Alex Bregman who came up in the heart of the cheating and started tearing up the league because it wasn't really him. He could prove this season, oh no, I'm a really good hitter, but for the rest of his career, everyone's gonna doubt him. Everyone's gonna doubt every result, and they should, because when you do shit like this, you're gonna be doubted. I talked to Ryan Braun, who got people fired because he, insisted so much he was on steroids. Just end up on, oh yeah, actually I did steroids. Anyway, moving backwards. Yuli Gurriel, another great case. Guy was a star in Cuba and came over pretty old for guys coming over to the league, and made his rookie debut at 32 and had his first real rookie season in 2017. Now he's hitting the 290s each season, but once again, and that's the thing, like talents from leagues like the KBO, the MPB, the Cuban Baseball League, all don't normally translate. But this guy's skills were, because in all these games, though he doesn't walk a whole lot, he doesn't strike out a whole much more because he's got only 20 to 30 something walks every season, but he only struck out 60 something times every season. So it's not like it's crazy amount of strikeouts to walks. He just puts the ball in play a lot, which is good. And he was one of the better first basemen in the league. And 2019, he found his power stroke. Look at all this power he's hitting. And it's like, oh well, I mean, obviously juice balls were a problem this year, and maybe there'll be a problem next year, but could have been something more. Because once again, there's no way you can fairly predict a team that cheated. So moving backwards, but overall, solid first baseman. But I don't even know what to say. Yordan Alvarez, rookie phenom last year. I don't even think I need to say it. I don't want to predict what he's going to do. He did really good last year in 87 games at designated hitter. He hit 27 home runs and hit 313 with an on base of 412. He struck out 2 times every walk, which is good. Well, for today's MLB, 655 slugging, an insane 1,067 OPS. But in addition to the sophomore slump, oh hey buddy, sorry, your center field camera is not there anymore. So I'm not going to make overarching claims what he's going to be. I don't even know what position he's supposed to play if he's not DH, because if he's starting DH at 23 years old, well, when he came up last year at 22, like that just screams I'm a defensive liability. So because why not give a guy like Yuli Gurriel, who plays first base, a chance to rest and not because he's older, you don't want to risk him getting injured. So definitely a weaker defensive, but once again, threatening bat. Carlos Correa, consistent for what he's done. 270s. 2018, he really struggled, only hitting 230, which is like, oh well, look at that. The Astros struggled despite having all the cheating. Well, yeah, Carlos Correa got injured like a bunch, like not like crazy injuries, but like consistently, like a little thing here, a little thing there, taking him out. Same thing in 2019. 2019, he got a massage that broke his ribs. Like, hello, does the man hear himself before he speaks? And they had a bunch of really horrible takes on people criticizing him. Like, it's anyway, getting off topic. But the big problem for Carlos Correa and the Astros at shortstop is that he gets injured a lot, because he's only had like his most games played is 153 in 2016. Since then, he's played 109, 110, and 75. And that's really bad for a guy that, was once a pretty big part of this lineup. Now he still can be, obviously, but he's such a big thing is, can he get it through the season? Can he get through the season without having to move Alex Bregman to shortstop? Which Bregman's a good shortstop. I think he actually was drafted as a shortstop. But do you have to start moving guys around because Correa's injured? Josh Reddick, kind of like honestly, your run of the mill outfielder. He's been pretty decent career with both the Red Sox and the Astros. Nothing too spectacular. Except, what's his? Jeremy, do you want to guess what his one outlier year was?
2017.
Yeah, 2017. What do you know? He's never hit close to 300. Like he's 280s, but all of a sudden, his age 30 season, uh, not so much in the power spectrum, but 82 RBIs, which is almost as much as his career high in RBIs, and all of a sudden hits 314, and things start to look shaky again because it's like, well, what happened? And it's like, oh, well, you were cheating. It's just like so. But for based on his career, like he's just been like he's kind of just he's a good player, not a superstar, but a decent player who's not a liability in any aspect. He's got a decent bat, decent fielding, but he's not that great. But he's not bad. Like it's just like it's a very middle of the road way to look at a outfielder, and it's significantly better than a lot of outfielders. Like if he was playing in the outfield in Cleveland, they'd have a significantly improved defense. Um. So yeah, I didn't get too caught up on it, but Martin Maldonado is rounds out as their number 9 man. Maldonado's always been a pretty good defensive catcher. He was horrible hitting on last year in the Cubs. He won like 0 and 20 something for the Cubs in like a very short amount of time before they traded him again. Um, he's never been a big hitter, but pitchers seem to like throwing to him. He seems to be, and you're having a good defensive catcher, especially with a rotation and just pitching that the Astros have, is a pretty big deal. And so, you know, good defense behind the plate. He'll be backed up by Garrett Stubbs, who only played 19 games last year, which is so it could be a pretty big thing for them. Like, hey, you're getting a new guy a chance to get some reps in, but I'm not gonna say too much about catcher. It's definitely like the weakest overall position for them. Decent defense from Maldonado, but their bat wise definitely the weakest. um, Projected starters. Now this is where the cheating scheme doesn't really affect them. Their starters are still really excellent. The Astros have a threatening lineup of guys. They do have problems with current injury, which we'll talk about, but they have a lot of guys who are good, and this is going to be a pretty solid lineup of guys. So it shows Justin Verlander number 5, which is only because he's injured. He's not your number 5 starter. He's your number 2 or number 1, depending on how Zach Greinke goes. Zach Greinke and Justin Verlander are your number 1, number 2 guys. Zach Greinke's in the chase for 3,000 strikeouts. He's at 2,600, I think, right now. Zach Greinke came over in that massive deal last year that they got before the offseason, before the trade deadline, and his win loss. Actually, wait, that's projected. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. And he was pretty money for you guys. 200 innings pitched. He obviously this is a split between him there in Arizona. 18 wins, 5 losses, 2.93 ERA, 187 strikeouts, only 30 walks, a sub 1 WHIP. He's not the prototypical fastball guy, high fastball. He throws slow, but he doesn't throw very hard, but he knows how to move the ball around and to keep it controlled. And he's the exact definition of like one of the best finesse pitchers in the league, if not the best. And so definitely a fun guy to watch and a very solid guy to have between your number 1 and 2 spot. I'm going to talk about them in order that they're on this list. Lance McCullers is coming off an injury. 2018 or 2019 preseason, 2018 offseason or 2019 preseason, he got injured, had to get Tommy John. He's been a pretty solid. He was a really solid pitcher in 2018. 3.86 ERA, 142 strikeouts, 50 walks. Really great curveball. That's probably that's easily his best pitch. Big problem for him, like some other players, injuries. He's never pitched 30 games yet. Now he's young. He's only going to be 26, but 25 games, 22 games, 14 games, 22 games. Like it's not something you really want to see out of a guy who's going to be one of your top 3 guys. Jose Urquidy, who had 41 innings out of the bullpen last year. Actually didn't do too bad. He had a 3.95 ERA, 40 strikeouts and 7 walks. So decent. It looks like he has some pretty decent command, but I don't like making big assumptions about rookies because you like a Jordan Alvarez. He's only done one season. Sophomore slump could very well be there. He's moving from the bullpen to the rotation, and that can always be a big change. That's just going to always be a big change because you're going to throw a lot more innings and you're going to be dealing with a whole plethora of situations that you wouldn't deal with out of the bullpen, obviously. You also have Josh James projected to be in your starting rotation. Josh James, his ERA is a little ugly, the 4.7 ERA. Let's see, like 49 games, 61 innings pitched, 100 strikeouts, 35 walks. Those are pretty decent numbers. If he can work on his big thing is a long ball. If you work on that, work on not letting you know working on his whip, trying to get that down. I think his numbers will really improve from it. And he's a big flamethrower. Like his average fastball is sitting around 97. So a guy with a big question mark is he's moving from the bullpen to the rotation, which actually, for a team that's had such a consistently dominant rotation, this could be a problem. Now, Josh James could also end up not sticking there because they have Austin Pruitt, who is competing for a spot, who's been up and down for the last couple of years. But so obviously you can end up moving back into the bullpen. But you have two guys who've pitched primarily out of the bullpen. Three guys with Austin Pruitt, who actually no, Austin Pruitt looks like he pitched as a starter most of his seasons. So you got a guy who hasn't really been able to stick in the majors and hasn't had much success, and two guys who have been in the bullpen for the primary of their career. Obviously, one of them will move into the bullpen when Verlander is healthy, but not sure what to really make of it because it's just some big question marks. And obviously, Justin Verlander, we need to talk about him. Justin Verlander is, undoubtedly like most Astros. People like Jose Altuve who are having Hall of Fame careers. This is not gonna I'm not gonna say for sure Jose Altuve won't be taken in, but his won't be affected at all. He's pitched like a monster for a lot of seasons. He had some struggles. 2015 he got injured, and 2014, like his years in the Tigers, he had a time where he really thought he was going to have to retire in his early 30s. And I actually read a really interesting article where he thought he was going to retire, and he got like this doctor who, totally who he had like back issues, I think it was, and she just fixed his like sole. She got him like new sole inserts and fixed like how he was standing. Like, oh, all my back problems are gone. It was like kind of funny. Anyway, that was totally unnecessary story. Um, 2017, the biggest move undoubtedly of the trade deadline was Justin Verlander, the midnight acquisition. Literally, Detroit Tigers management ran to his apartment or house, wherever the hell he was living, and had to get him to sign the papers at like 11 something at night, minutes before the deadline expired. So, and he's been insane. He's thrown back to back two of the best years of his life. 2.52 ERA in 2018 is 16 wins, 290 strikeouts, only 37 walks, and then last year 2.58, 21 wins, 300 strikeouts, 42 walks, and 223 innings, and winning a Cy Young award. Like those are pretty awesome stats for him, and he also hit a 3,000 strikeout milestone. And love him or hate him, he's not as much of a jackass like Kurt Schilling or like Roger Clemens, who did roids. I think there's no doubt in my mind that he ends up in the Hall of Fame because he was so good. He's been so good for so long, and now that he's older, he's only gotten better. And so definitely it'd be exciting to watch him pitch. And I don't know if this is the year or if it's next year when his current contract with Houston's up. But I imagine that he will definitely be on another team. Or will definitely be re-signing or signing somewhere else. I don't think he'll be retiring at the end of this contract. But anyway, so that's the rotation. So you got two absolute stars in Greinke and Verlander, but then a lot of question marks between injuries and people coming from the bullpen. So definitely a interesting case here. Now let's talk about the bullpen. Uh, their big deal last year was getting Roberto Osuna when he came off his uh sorry. Oh no, in 2018 when he picked up Roberto Osuna when he got before he even pitched a game because he was coming off his suspension for domestic abuse. I'm not going to talk about domestic abuse. It's a problem in the sport. It's a problem in every sport. Like even the Yankees with all the Shabbat have had problems with it. I don't want to get too much into it, but he's going to be your closer. He's been pretty damn good for you. 2.37 ERA in 2018, 21 saves, 2.63 ERA with 38 saves in 2019. He's got excellent strikeout stuff. He throws hard. He plays. He's a really good pitcher, and undoubtedly your best pitcher in the bullpen. You have some pretty interesting guys, like Ryan Presley, who had really good seasons last year. He set the record for like longest scoreless streak or something. I think it was, or most scoreless appearances. I don't remember exactly what he set the record for, but he had a monster 2018 with 101 strikeouts in 71 innings. And then 72 strikeouts, 54 innings in 2019. Like this guy has become one of the best pitchers in the league, in the last 2 years. And regardless of what happens with the bats, the pitching speaks for itself. It's dominant there, and obviously we could find out. They weren't only cheating in one place, but I don't think so. This is just two really dominant guys. He's excellent, and I think that those two, your setup and closer combo of those two, will be really, really threatening for every lineup. Yeah, Brad Peacock, who struggled with injury last season. Uh, you know, who has put up really good, decent numbers in the past, both out of the bullpen and as a starter. So have to wait and see how he's health wise this year. But I expect that he'll be pretty okay, middle relief guy. Don't expect too much crazy stuff. Got Chris Davinsky, had a pretty rough season last year, 4.83 ERA. Whipping around 130. Definitely struggled quite a bit. So you have to wait and see what happens with him. Anyway, you got Framber Valdez, guy who really struggled last year. 5.86 ERA in 70 innings. That's atrocious. Now a lot of those were starts he was making because they had. I don't remember who got injured that they had to. It was some injury that they had to deal with, and so he took in a lot of starts and got shelled. I don't expect the season to be as bad from him, but another case of don't know what you're getting. Joe Biagini, who he picked up from Toronto, he has had a pretty rough couple of seasons. He had a very good rookie start with in 2016 with 60 games, 67 innings pitched, a 4-3 record, a 3.06 ERA, and hasn't had any similar success. So maybe the Astros can work their pitching magic and his spin rate will go through the roof and he'll start becoming the next great bullpen arm. But another question mark. And then Joe Smith. You got a guy who's been, I love his fucking windup. Is this like sidearm weird lineup that just is a lot of fun to watch. He's been pretty good the last couple of years. He did struggle a little bit with injury, only playing in 28 games last year, but he was good in the playoffs. He had a 1.8 ERA in the time he did play last year. He's been consistently mid threes, a couple of standout years like in 2014 and 2013. Actually, a dominant stretch between 2012, 2010. Sorry, I'm totally misreading. 2011 and 2015, or 2014, where for 4 straight years his ERA hovered between 2 and 1.8, 2.9 and 1.8. So that's with some decent strikeout numbers. He's definitely a pitch to contact type of guy. He's a sidearmer, so he's throwing a lot of two seamers and sinkers that are just meant to be rolled over, which he does get pretty crappy contact on, which is good. So definitely a solid guy. Probably my favorite person to watch at these. I like the guys with the weird windups who don't get enough credit, but definitely a lot to look out for there. So yeah, I don't really know. what else I could say? You got a couple interesting prospects in the minors. You got to come up, but I don't want to talk too much about them. Uh, yeah. So getting into the ratings, I guess. Well, actually, because I'll keep going after the ratings because I got a little more to talk about. But for the ratings, I want to be harsh on them. I want to just not even give them ratings because the hell with the Astros. It's not that they cheated and then apologized, that they cheated, refused to admit they cheated, and then even though they've been found, guilty, then just a light tap on the wrist because Rob Manfred's a coward and doesn't care about the sport, just his fucking fat paycheck, because he's a spineless coward. Sorry, do you get my opinion on Rob Manfred yet? Um, Honestly, the lineup it's threatening. Even like I have to go off the stats that I'm given. I don't think the stats are going to be that as good. Which is why I want to give him a B plus. Like looking at it, I say A minus because they have lots of injury problems with especially the bottom half, and their catching position has no offense whatsoever. But I'm gonna go B plus just because I don't think I think the stats are bloated. I think that they struggle with offense towards the end of that lineup, and they struggle with injury all over that lineup. So giving me a B plus could be an A minus. But anyway, bullpen, actually a pretty decent bullpen when they got a lot of weapons who can be very good for you. You got Roberto Osuna and Ryan Presley. You got uh, Joe Smith and Brad Peacock and Chris Stefanski. Like now, obviously Brad Peacock, struggled with injury, and Chris Stefanski has been you know iffy, but he's shown in the past like what he can do. Chris Stefanski, is a guy who in 2017 and 2016 had a sub 3 ERA both years. So maybe not in terms of threats, but you got two really good threats in Roberto Osuna and Ryan Presley, and enough decent guys in there that you're definitely not towards the end of the stick on bullpen. Plus, you have some prospects like Brian Abreu and Rogelio Armenteros, who are going to come up this season.
For those of you who are not on our Discord and will not have the privilege of seeing this, one of our friends has come into the chat who has no clue about what's going on in baseball. He is not a baseball fan. Has just come in and said, "quote Shout out Astros, gas team."
Gas team. My response: no, fuck you. Sorry, I just in our Discord, someone just we Google autofilled to them cheating or some shit. Anyway, I get distracted again, and I want to finish this because I want to play some games, because I cannot stand this team. Bullpen, it's a B. It's not a B plus. It's not a B minus. It's a B. You got two really, really, really good threats, but you got and some pretty decent other arms. But there are some big question marks in there, and you got some prospects who obviously could do quite a bit because like they're good, they're top prospects, but for a reason. But never know how it's going to turn out. And then rotation. Uh, I'm gonna give it a. I don't want to give it. See the problem, and this is another problem. Two really, really big stars, in Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke, and then a really, really big mixed bag of kind of bad, kind of okay, who guys who are who have been in the bullpen. It's hard to say what they're gonna do. And so the rotation, I think, is actually for the first time for the Astros in the last 3 years, it's actually kind of their weakness. I'm gonna go B minus on the rotation because looking at it, you think Astros rotation. Oh well, they have Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke, and it's like, well, they lost Garrett Cole, they lost Wade Miley. Wade Miley had a big, horrible second half.
Can we get a
But
round of applause on them losing Garrett Cole?
yeah, so in summation, fuck the Astros. And fuck any team that cheats, like as a whole team-wide organization. And if it comes out the Yankees are doing the same thing, I'd be fucking crushed. Honest to God.
I think what I'm gonna do, just kind of thinking ahead on editing here, we have an hour and 10 minutes worth of footage. I'm thinking
Might just split it up into two parts.
I think I'm gonna cut because this is supposed to be a preseason projections. So I think I'm going to cut this video at the end of your scorecard here. And then if anybody down in the comments is interested to hear the roughly 40-minute debate that we got into, post his report card. Leave a comment down below, and I will edit and release the debate that we got into. I'll keep the footage on my
Well, we're just-
computer.
Yeah, so like, comment, and subscribe. Go check out our social media, our Discord. Discord's pretty fun. And let us know in the comments if you're an Astros fan and you think, oh, I'm just a salty Yankee. Well, I don't really care. I'm not going to respond to you. Actually, I might. I just linked the Athletic article. But anyway, if you have any actual reason why you think that they were better or worse in any specific particular reason and want to have an actual discussion about it, let me know. Comment down below. And yeah, that's really it. It's been blow up the team. And where do we go next, Jeremy?
Tomorrow we go to the Indianapolis Colts. For me, Wednesday is the White Sox. Thursday we go to Jacksonville for the Jaguars, and Friday we go to San Diego for the Padres.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So with all that being said, I guess this has been Blow Up the Team. Come back tomorrow to check out the Indianapolis Colts draft analysis, and we will see you next time. Peace.